Sam and Jonah, roommates in faith. It's an episodic podcast with two gentlemen whose worldviews couldn't be more different. As if being roommates wasn't hard enough, adding religion into the mix surely complicates matters even further. Tensions tend to rise as a result. Thankfully, as the narrator, I'm able to step in and help both of the boys on their spiritual journeys. Join us as we discuss topics that push both Sam and Jonah out of their comfort zones. Sam and Jonah, roommates in faith. Sam and Jonah are two roommates who couldn't be more different. They live together in a cozy apartment, but their personalities and worldviews often clash, creating moments of tension and conflict. Jonah is often antagonistic, practical, straightforward, and a little cynical, borderlining on Christian fundamentalism, while Sam is idealistic, empathetic, and unwavering in his worldview with a healthy skepticism toward Christianity. As they navigate daily life from shared chores to personal struggles, they find themselves at odds over trivial matters and deeper issues of morality and faith. Their views and values are often challenged by me, the narrator, and I work to help them see that they aren't that different after all.
There is a general acknowledgement among our population that the White House, through Trump, is controlled by Russia.
Intentionally crashing the U.S. economy, there's almost certainly going to be a huge...
Hi, please don't scroll. I'm being censored currently.
Things you can do in the UK, but you cannot do in America.
Yo, did you know you can buy small amounts of Bitcoin?
Because I know that your news and your social media is being censored in America. And then you won't be seeing the way that in the West, political rivals,
What you doing, Sam?
democratic nations are overlooking their
Doom
differences.
scrolling, realizing just how crazy the world is.
Potential war.
Well, it's because God is being pushed out of this country. Oh, here we go. What? It's not getting worse because God's getting pushed out of this country. It's getting worse because they think they are God. It's not like he's being deported, which is more than I can say for a lot of people these days, including children that have brain cancer. Well, the Israel Heritage Foundation named him the Prince of Peace. Clearly, he's doing God's work. And it's for explanations like that that I'm skeptical of God and am all but certain that a personal God who gives a crap about each one of us doesn't exist. You think this world just up and made itself. You think it's flat. I've never once walked up a hill and found I was able to make it to the other side of the earth. When I look straight out, all I see are miles of ocean and a flat line. Your vitals are a flat line. Oh, here they go again. Sam is still upset over the immigration reform and Jonah's just, well, oblivious. To be clear, Jonah is referring to an award President Trump received from the Israel Heritage Foundation in 2024. On the inscription it read, "The Covenant of Peace Award goes to the Prince of Peace, Donald J. Trump." While he does seem to understand the reference, he seems not to understand, if true, what the actual implications are. The actual implications is he brings peace. Oh yeah? Through war? That wasn't Jesus' thing, and you're a Christian? Revolution 1915, and Jesus comes back with a sword for a tongue striking down all heathen nations. I think you grossly misunderstood what that actually said. The president is sharp with his mouth, telling the truth, just like Jesus did. Point me to the spot where Jesus insults someone. He calls the Pharisees a brood of vipers and chastises the merchants for selling things inside the church. I could use a little assistance here. Sam, for someone who has such animosity towards Christianity in the Bible, you don't seem to know it very well. It's one thing to be agnostic, atheist. An atheist doesn't leave wiggle room for an intelligent designer. You just stated that you did. Therefore, you are an agnostic. Just because you don't believe in a personal God, you still don't deny that there might be someone who created the universe. Fine, agnostic. Just please continue. Point Jonah in the right direction. Anyway, people who aren't theists generally have a knowledge of the Bible and other spiritual texts to back that up, even if they tend to draw the wrong conclusions. I thought we were picking on Jonah here. I know your God is hypothetical. I'm getting out of here before the lightning strikes. Jonah, you're thinking of Zeus. Better safe than sorry. Come at me, bro! What's with all the anger? You mean outside what Christianity and this religion nonsense has done to our country? Well, yes. Okay, well, God's okay with human sacrifice. What? What are you on about? Human sacrifice? How did you come to that conclusion? God ordered Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, remember? But he didn't do it. Plus, he was stopped by God. Well, an angel. But God still encouraged it. Sam, you have to look at the context of the passage and the culture at the time. It was not uncommon for human sacrifices to the pagan gods. God didn't ask him to do anything that was outside the culture norms, and required him to stop when he learned Abraham would actually have faith and do it. God keeps his promises. He said he'd bless the earth through Abraham's family, and Isaac was his only son. He didn't let him die. Well, God killed his only son. Why do you not think it's plausible that he'd let Abraham go through with it? That's terrible logic. But I see how you got there. Let's look at this passage in full context of the story of Abraham in Genesis. But not until after this break.
Years before the boys in Homelander were a national phenomenon, Chicago had Neutrino in a 4-part short story series called Bred to Rule. This series focuses on new Chicago detective Wallace Maxwell and explores the psychological effects of becoming a superhero overnight. He and his partner, James Williams, investigate a government conspiracy to eliminate creators of digital currency. This 4-part series is available for sale on Amazon for $2.99 each. Pick up the first installment, The Incident, today, and experience what critics call a fun read that should be more than enough to hook readers on Bearden's world.
Okay. Genesis 22, the sacrifice of Isaac. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham! And he said, Here I am. He said, Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains on which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and his son Isaac. And he cut the wood for the burnt offering, and arose, and went to the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham told his young men, Stay here with the donkey, I and the boy will go over there and worship and come back to you again. And Abraham took the wood and the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took his hand the fire and the knife. So they went both of them together. And Isaac said to his father, My father! And he said, Here I am, my son. He said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order to bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar, on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham! And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of the place, The Lord Will Provide. As it is said to this day, On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. It's been argued, of course, that was to test Abraham's trust in God and his obedience. As you can see, clearly nothing actually happened to the child. Yeah, but he traumatized him. Did he, though? Because he didn't actually do anything, and Isaac still went on to live a perfectly happy and normal life obedient to God. Okay, fine. What about the firstborn of Egypt? The tradition of Passover. If you remember the whole context, again, God gave the Egyptians chance after chance, the Pharaoh specifically, escalating in each one of his plagues. It is possible there are perfectly reasonable, non-divine reasons for some of those things to have happened. It could have just been like a normal season for the locusts, for example. But the fact that they happened at the exact time in which they did, with such frequency, suggests there's also a divine orchestrator. Plus, we have archaeological evidence that Israel did exist in the time of Egypt, though the timelines do vary. We also have archaeological evidence that the chariots were in deep parts of the Red Sea. So, all of that being said, Pharaoh did have every opportunity with ample warning, and Pharaoh continued to resist. Plus, that standard that you put on God goes against our earthly standard of morals rather than his. Since we can't see the whole timeline, as it were, what are we to say what is merciful? And since we aren't perfect, what right do we have to feign righteousness, saying how evil it was? Every right. If all human life is sacred, then God violated his own law. Okay, let me ask you this then, and you at home can chew on this too. You're familiar with the game The Sims, yes? Well, yeah, perfect escapism game. Okay, now, do you remember an even older game called SimCity 2000? Yeah, you got to build all these cities and run it and be like this mayor, and you got to destroy the whole world with these alien things. It was awesome. Precisely. So, when things were going wrong with a huge population, did you try and salvage your world? Well, no. I generally ended it so I could start over. Or if there was just too much chaos, Oh. If this is what you did, a human, and chose to do, then why would you think God, of whom we're made in the image of, or character, mind you, would do any different? Why does he not have the same right to take life as well as create it? But that's just a computer simulation. They don't actually feel anything. Oh, one of your arguments is we're in a simulation. But do you not feel pain? And by creating that world, are you not role-playing what it's like to be God? And since everything was going sideways, did you allow the suffering to continue? Or did you choose to be merciful and end the suffering? Hey, now God sent the flood. And you sent an alien. If you can rationalize your destruction, why do you criticize God's? And that's where we'll pick it up again next week. No. You're not ending it here. Are you sitting here trying to justify what the president is doing and everything that's happening in this country? No, I am not trying to justify that. We'll discuss that next week. What I'm trying to help you understand is that your understanding is limited at best. That is what we're trying to get to. We'll talk to Jonah next week about his misunderstandings, as we'll call it as well. But until next time, Sam, as well as you, the listener, have a lot to think about this week. For more of this content, sign up for our newsletter and join CoruscantCleric on TikTok and Twitch. Sunday night, he does a Bible study at 7:30 p.m. Until next time, friends, God bless.
Hey listeners, Tim Bearden here. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Sam and Jonah Roommates in Faith, a small-time Big Shots production. Find us on Facebook to always stay up to date on new episode releases. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing or financially supporting this ministry in other ways. You can find how to do so in each of the show's notes. In addition to Sam and Jonah, we also have a short-form webtoon called Pi the Private Eye. This is aimed towards younger viewers. You can find Pi on both YouTube and Facebook. For additional content, please follow at CoruscantCleric, that's CoruscantCleric, on TikTok, and join us on TikTok and Twitch Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m. for a live Bible study. Thanks again for all your support, and may God continue to bless you on your faith journey.